Hi, Diala Lteif, Service Design Blueprint. Okay, so as I was saying, architects typically are and engineers are the people who use blueprints the most. They are the plans that lay out a building, and the blueprint is an essential part of any construction or design because that exact same blueprint is used by the engineer, the architect, the builder, the mason, and every single person that comes into a construction plan. Okay? When service design appeared in the early 90s, they wanted to include some of the successful aspects of traditional design practices, if you will. And so they wanted to incorporate this blueprint. But one of the essential and key elements of services, as I mentioned this yesterday, is the fact that services take into consideration one very important aspect, which is time. Okay? And very few, actually, I think, this is my knowledge, this is nothing I've read anywhere, but I think the only other discipline that's within the fields of design that takes into consideration truly time is direction and filmmaking. They are the only people who really account into time because it's within their practice. But besides this, no one sees time the same way service designers take into account into their design. Okay? So the service blueprint is just a visual tool to help you lay out your service visually, okay? The service blueprint is used either when you are designing something, so you can make a blueprint out of scratch, but you can also test a service that you're already running and lay it out on a blueprint and see if it has any bottlenecks, any problems, any improvements that can be done. And a service blueprint is also a way for like a consultant or someone who's like an outsider to also try to assess a situation and see how they can improve it. Okay, so
is it like when you do an application and you do a prototype like it's a wireframe, but you can click on it and you can see whether it works or not?
No, but in the app design, it's the part where you do in the initial sketches of what all the frames would be. It's
the wireframe, you mean?
Yeah, but it's maybe a step before that. I don't know how you call it. Like the initial thinking of what it would do. Okay, the initial breakdown of like what does it do, the whole thing. Okay, so I'm gonna go over this quickly. Then we're gonna make an example. We'll do it together. Okay, three major lines you need to remember. The first one, which is time. As we mentioned, time is very essential. It's a core aspect of service. Service takes time into account because I need time to get, for instance, to the counter of the Burger King to order and we take this into account. Second line is the line of interaction, okay? We're going to take an example here. I go into a bar and I walk in, so I'm taking time, and then I get to the bar. The bar, which is the physical bar, over which I interact with the bartender. This is my line of interaction. This is the physical line where me, the user, and the service provider, we meet. This is the line over which we interact. Sometimes it's very easy to spot, like a bar, like a counter, like when I get to a cashier. These are visible lines of interaction. But sometimes the line of interaction is less tangible. It's when I log into an app. This is my line of interaction. This is the line I cross to get into the service, okay? The third line, which is important, is the line of visibility. And this is important for service providers. The line of visibility, another simple example, I walk into a bar, I see the beautiful bottles behind the bartender, I don't see the kitchen. It's behind my line of visibility. And this is part of the service that I don't want to see as a user, but that is very essential to getting the service done. Okay? All clear? Any questions? We move forward? Okay. So, the timeline here moves from left to right. Your left to right. And it's also divided slightly here into three big categories. Okay? Another thing, because time is so important, we start thinking of the service before the user starts interacting with it. So we have what we call the pre-service, during, and then post. Okay? Now, before I get into more details, we're going to do a run-through. Okay? And we're going to try to fill this in together. During... no, sorry.
Pre-service, during.
Yes, thank you. I'm on overdrive this weekend. Apologies. Okay, so this is pre. Okay, so let's take a simple example. Any service. Throw something out at me.
Taxi, like calling a taxi.
Like calling a taxi. Okay. Do you want to, a slightly more complicated one, Uber? Everyone's up for the challenge?
What?
Let's blueprint Uber.
طب let's
شو؟
سوقلين.
سوقلين. سوقلين? Okay. Are we familiar with سوقلين?
Yes.
Okay. سوقلين is a rather complex problem, and I'll tell you why.
And this is why.
This is why, says the smart ass. Yes, I know. Okay. So let's start with this. Who is the user? You chose سوقلين, you're answering.
Okay. Who is the user?
Yes?
There are multiple users.
Yes?
One of them is the consumer, the household consumer. One of them is the
Okay.
The one picking up the garbage. Is he a user? I'm just thinking, is he a user or not? Is that question.
Okay.
Another one is the person who's recycling the stuff.
Yeah?
And there's another user who is using the energy that is being recycled. That's a very, very, very.
Okay. This would be very backstage, actually, just to give you a
Big companies that have massive amounts of
Yes.
garbage. Exactly. So on the user end, so you have the individual, you have a company, you have
What
institutions.
do you mean by a user?
This is a very good question.
Can we start-
Eh. And this is why I started with this exact story. Exactly. So the person who is literally using the service. Okay? But because it is this definition, the user is actually very broad. And the blueprint can be done multiple times. And every time changes, every time we switch the user. So one, we can do the user as being me, the individual who is throwing into a garbage bin. Second one we could do, no, I'm actually a company that, has bulk, and they have a deal with سوقلين, and then they have different services, that they are provided. Three, I can be the actual person who's collecting the garbage, and I am the user, and then everything shifts up on the blueprint. I can also be, the user can be like the person working in the headquarters, and they are also a user, and they deal with the service completely differently behind their offices. For that purpose, I would suggest we go back to Uber because سوقلين is actually a very complicated example to explain this. So, no, but I'm glad we started like this because it's a very good conversation about who the user is. In the Uber example, it's a little bit more simple because the user is someone like you who has the application and who's just called a taxi, right? They're just called a cab. So the user is typically the person riding the cab. And that's the first user.
So you define the user by the person that pays the money?
who's using this service.
No, because you have two people using the service. The service is used by me and by the driver.
No, but the driver is providing the service.
Yes, exactly, not Uber. Uber
No,
is
because the
driver.
service is not the driving. The service is the platform.
Very true, very true. And we're going to talk about this in a minute, okay? Let's humor me for a second and let's...
I'm just thinking.
No, and it's a very good story. Please hold your... I'm going to get back to that. Okay, so I am the user, right? Okay, so how do I hear about this? This is the pre-phase. How did I hear about Uber?
Word of mouth,
Word of mouth,
marketing,
social media. Okay,
celebrities,
Twitter.
definitely
Okay.
media,
Yeah.
ads, IBC, ما كنا IBC على حتى top rated games على top rated applications that you should download. ما أنت
إيه.
definitely. هذا بيحكوا عنهم عن blogs, definitely, and forums. Some people discuss that. A lot of promotion. You see it on the streets? You see
Okay.
it.
You don't see it.
Ads, promotions. Okay, so all of these are channels. Okay, let's just... so I didn't put all the examples, but you have them down. It's a lot of social media, advertising, all of this. And I put them out here, where what I'm calling here a touch point, okay? A touch point. And this is another essential aspect of a service. A touch point is the exact, when the service itself becomes tangible and the user interacts with it physically. So in that sense, the car and the driver are the touch point of the service.
I have a question.
Yeah? No, please go ahead.
You don't think ان the pre can go back to the problem؟ يعني انا مثلا اللي بيخليني مثلا انا I've seen now from Uber specifically ايه ده انا مش لاقي تاكسي مش عارف ايه بتاع هتلاقي حد يقول لك why don't you use Uber؟
True.
You'll be like what is Uber؟ So it's word of mouth, but I think it's redefining it as having a problem.
Yeah, but in this case, you're talking. Yeah, he's saying why aren't we going back to the initial situation of like why I even need to use Uber because it is more practical because versus other services. You could do this, but it's not necessarily meant for the blueprint. There are other like scenario tools that help you flush out scenarios of like how you reach your customer. It's almost too much detail for this one. Go for it. Someone had a question? Okay. So now here, this is my user. The user is above the line of interaction because he doesn't have to see all of the, right? So he heard about this service, right? And what does he do? What is his action?
He wants to use it, he calls, he Googles it, he looks for it.
He looks for it, and what does he has to do? He downloads the app. He gets the app. This is the essential aspect of it, okay? So I'm actually going to use the smaller poster so that you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so he downloads the app. And so basically, the first pre-action, he hasn't used the service yet, right? But he's provided himself with this application. And so basically, we connect these two with an arrow because one is the effect of the other, right? And it's important to connect the actions so that we always spot how the flow is going. Okay, so I've downloaded the app. Does anything happen in the backstage?
What's happening?
Someone very, very far back that I don't see at all has received my data, right? Somewhere out there, someone has my data, okay? So this is, in the very back stage, something that I will never see. Somewhere in the database, my data is here, okay? We are about to cross the line and go into the service. What happens now?
Into the service, you have to put in your information. Okay, the information that you put in is a
Khalas, we have the app, I've logged in, I have a sign.
You want to use the application, so
Yes.
order a cab.
Order a cab. This is the first thing I do, right? So I log into my app and I order a cab, right? So my physical action is that as a user, I am ordering the cab. This is my action. I'm putting it here. So at this stage, how did I interact with the service? Through the app. So the app in this specific situation is my touch point because this is the point where I've touched with the service. Is it clear so far? Okay. So I've ordered the cab. What happens?
No, I think you skipped something.
What?
Okay. Because I'm a user.
Yeah?
Yeah. There is the point where you open up the application.
You look at it.
Yeah, you look at it. And you need to identify where you are.
Oh, right. Okay. Yes, please.
Why am I making this point?
Yes.
Because this is my biggest issue with Uber.
With Uber, yes.
Sometimes they're very bad at geolocating your position.
Specifically, you mean?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. They always get you in a different place, 1 block or 2 blocks away. So you need to readjust your place on the map, on the application.
I want to comment on this point.
Is this a problem?
Actually, it's not an Uber thing. The GPS is a global.
معلش بس هو ما بيعرف. That's a very good point. It's a very good point and I'm going to put this down and I'll tell you why.
إذا يوز أوبر outside بيروت ما عندك
When you use Google Maps بيحدد مكانك مظبوط.
Okay, لا.
جوجل مابس أوقات بيوصلك على محل غلط بالبلان. You have a problem.
There's a problem with the map, but it's not a problem.
بس هو as a user, he's still being frustrated with the app and I'm going to put this down and it's important and you'll see why next, okay?
ممكن بس أديكي واحدة كمان.
Yes?
Okay, something else is that you check out how many cars
Are around you. Yeah.
Number 2, whether there is a surge pricing or not.
Okay.
Surge pricing. When there is very high demand in Uber, there is limited cars.
Yes.
فعشان يقلل الديماند ويخلي الديماند
He raises the price.
عايز يدفع مصاري فبيرفع السعر بس بيقول لك ان هو بيرفع ل 20 30 up to ساعات يعني New Year's it went up to 3 times the original price.
Because of the demand.
Is it also by type of cars?
Also.
This is something, yeah, and this is another thing is you have an Uber X and you have an Uber Black.
True. Okay, بس هيدول كلهم that you're describing, all of this that you're describing, who's doing? Who's doing it?
The user.
No. I'm not putting the price. I'm not
So part of it, okay, there is 2 things.
I'm just looking at what's available. Who's telling me what's available? The service. So this is the first front stage IC, right? So it's like, what are we going to call this?
The platform.
Yeah, but it's like, what is it? Like feedback or availability or, you know, it's showing you availability. Show availability plus options. Okay. Plus. لا بالعكس, you're doing great. Okay, so I geolocate myself. What does the app do? I send her the information. It shows me availabilities, and this is how I get to order, right?
Timing. It shows you how much time this person is going to get to come.
Okay, very good. And so it gives me back enough information for me to know what will happen next, right? I've ordered my cab. What happens? Yes? I'm very impressed. Bravo عليك. Okay, very good.
Don't do an algorithm. Nobody's really sitting around.
I'm sure it does, right? But something, so I'm sending them data. They get the data, they send it back to the platform, okay, which generates an algorithm or something, and okay, and it shoots back a notification to my phone, right? Okay. Sorry. Okay, so it sends back information here, which I can access back on my phone, right? As a user, I can see it on my phone. So كل هون touch point is my app. Okay, what happens next?
You wait.
You wait. Very important aspect of the service. So yes, so what happens here is that I leave it blank. The longer I wait, the longer I put the blank, okay? And this is an important aspect of the blueprint because it helps you, hey, it's Scrum. And when you do it in front of you, you'll do it in smaller and you'll be able to use it at scale. What's actually good, and it's like the proper way of doing a blueprint, is to مثلا take each centimeter is 10 minutes or something, and then you do it to scale.
Can I add something?
Yes?
Actually, you have the choice either to wait or there are multiple actions that you can take.
Like what?
Such as واحد أهبل مثلي بيفضل قاعد بيبص على السكرين بيشوف هو ماشي فين وبياخد عليه طريق. Okay. Because
That's true, you can track him.
Because
You can see where he
you
is.
see exactly how he's moving on the map.
Okay.
So sometimes it would be like شو هالأهبل he took the wrong turn.
Okay, let's take this example.
Next time, take this because ما فيها عدة. So that's a
Bravo. Okay, so while I wait here, I can wait plus check where my driver is, right? So this is an important aspect of this process because it doesn't just leave you hanging, right? So in my لك شو عم بعمل? I'm holding them in the okay. Check driver. So I can call my driver, see where he is. This is another point of interaction through this app. Yes. Sorry,
But I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay. Something that Uber does, but I don't know where to put it here. Okay. You have the Uber cars فيهم كذا شغلة. Okay. أول حاجة most of them they're very clean from the inside.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's number one. Maybe that's when. Oh.
When did you realize?
Sue,
Okay.
share with us.
Yeah. Our during is focused on the ordering.
Yes.
The during is the ride itself.
Yes, I was going to get to that. But yes, very good observation. But this is, no, the during is all of it. From the moment I order to the moment I get into the cab to the moment I get out of the cab.
Okay, but my initial question about that مثلا first of all in Uber car does not have any عليها stickers أو أي شيء أو أي
Identification?
because the idea is that this person is not a taxi. Is your own private driver.
True.
يعني أنت مش بتقول له مثلا رايح على المحل.
إيه.
Tell him go straight.
بس
ما في يحكي. He's going to.
But you're getting ahead of the service. قبل ما نقطع لهم, but this is important because the next touch point once you're done with the app is the actual car. And this is when we're going to discuss this touch point. Okay? But I'm going to continue on another sheet. لأنه we're running out of space. Thank you. Merci. Okay. So where were we, friends? Okay. So I'm checking the driver. So that when I'm checking the drivers, can the programmers Programmers help us here. What's happening in the back end? That's for you, Hassan. When I'm checking the driver and I can see him on the map, what's actually happening in the back end? Yeah, but like there's a server somewhere, right? That's GPS locating my car.
You are checking the driver on a map.
Yeah.
Or what's happening.
It's a GPS location.
Actually, there's data that went from the GPS of the driver to the server, and every mobile user can see this data.
So there is one GPS in the car and a server somewhere, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So in the car there's a GPS that sends the data. It sends the location.
Yes.
And it sends it to the server, and the server, you can say, broadcast it to all users.
Okay.
That's how they can see the location of the driver.
Okay, very good. I have another question for you. Not for you specifically, but for everyone. So yes, we have this. This server is sending me this information, and I can see it on my phone. So I'm waiting. What's happening here? I'm waiting. The server is working. What's happening here in the middle?
In the front stage, you mean?
Yeah?
The front stage.
They're making sure.
You see the GPS?
The update is you. This is your user. This is your actions.
You see the thing, the moving
You
on
see
the
the
map?
moving.
Well, yeah, it's here. I can see him on my map, on my user. This is me.
Why
It's-
this is user action, not
The user action is that I am checking my phone.
No. Yes, the user action is you're checking the phone, but as well, regardless whether you're checking or not, in the front stage you have it on the screen. So you check.
Arguably, okay, from your point, okay, so it's there, the information is there, but what's actually happening on the ground physically? The driver is coming to you, right? So hold it, this is going to answer. Yeah, so there is a driver on his way, okay? And this is where we can get into like understanding how the Uber car is always clean. So I'm going to put it here. So while I order, there's actually, when this is sent, the algorithm sends me the information, but it also sends it to a driver. A driver is dispatched into my direction. And okay, so the driver is on his way. And this is probably where something is also happening here when between the two shifts, he's somewhere getting his car cleaned. There's a routine he's doing which we don't know about that's also happening in the back end. And all of this is happening simultaneously while millions of people are ordering their cabs. Okay? And so understanding these things in parallel is also one of the importance of a blueprint. So he's on his way. I'm looking at what he's doing. You know, I'm waiting. And then what happens?
He arrives, let's say.
He arrives, you get a notification.
Okay.
Two things.
So on the front stage, the driver arrives. Yeah, he arrives.
Or
He gives information and
ان هو عرف يتنزل عشان تستناه، يا اما بيقول لك ان هو وصل فبيستناك تحت البيت.
بس هو بعد ما وصل عم بيوصل سو حدد حالك لتنزل.
Okay, so he's arriving.
Okay.
Okay, أنا شو بيوصل لي?
A notification in the
So I am notified. Okay, and how is this happening? So هون بس just as a note, it has been the same touch point. يعني لهون كلها it's the app. Okay, it's the app. I've been notified. This has arrived. What's happening in the back end? صح. So he's notifying the server. The server is notifying me.
I'm not sure if he actually notifies the server or it happens automatically within when he's
Either way, he's sending the signal. Yani he's doing the action of arriving. His arrival checks the GPS. Okay, and then the server sends me the notification. Okay, everyone's following. Do you want me to stop? Do you have any questions? Okay, كله clear. Okay, so now what happens?
Okay, you go down, you close the app.
لا مش لازم يقول ممكن تتأخر لو تأخر في زبون تقولي.
He calls.
But he's notifying إنه وصل.
Let's take a normal scenario, okay? I get into the car, right? I find my car, I get into the car.
حتى لو قبل ما يتأخر إنه قبل ما يوصل زي ما تقول.
They notify you يعني قبل ما يوصل على طول يعني هو يعني وهو على أول شارع.
You get into the car.
I'm into the car. What's my touch point here?
The guy.
Now the car, in the car.
The car and the driver, okay? And this is an important aspect of a service that actually I find people in Lebanon don't really understand. The driver, the teller, the person on the cashier, everyone, they are your service, right? Like the incompetent person at the bank, You are the service, my friend. Okay? And his car. They are our touch point. And they're an essential touch point. And this is where training your employees is very, very important because they represent your brand. Okay? If I am upset at the teller at the bank, I'm not upset at her. I'm upset at this fucking bank. You know, I'm upset. And you know, and it's very hard. I'm always explaining this to everyone. I'm like, it's not about you. It's about you as the brand. I don't care who you are, Yvette. I don't care. Like, I want your brand to function, right? And so the driver here is a touch point. Okay, I get into the car. What is he doing on the front stage? No, first he greets you, he opens the door, like the UberX, they're very polite. They say, oh, Diala, this is your ride. They know your name typically. They have a very sophisticated...
If it's an Uber,
the touch point is the physical aspect of it. So the car and the driver are the physical. Whatever you can touch is a touch point. You can touch it. So the greeting, whatever is on the front end, okay? At this point, is anything on the back end happening?
They
bravo.
can hear everything, everything that's everything is going on, they can hear it. I'm on the microphone for Sierra.
Ah, really?
That's freaky.
That's freaky.
It's not, everything, كل conversation is recorded. Sometimes part of Lebanon it's recorded visually, but it's for safety. It's for safety. Why people prepare to use Uber?
Why do they trust them?
They trust them. That's why, because there's microphones. And
Because they are random people, right? أي شخص
no. Here in Lebanon, it's
بس
not.
هو بأمريكا هيك بأمريكا أي شخص عنده سيارة وبيقدر يقدم عليها بياخدوه.
بيبقى في specs معينة كل 8 سنين بيسووا.
So this is how they ensure the value of their service is preserved.
Actually, there's an interesting aspect of Uber is that passenger rate the driver, but also the driver rates the passenger.
Oh.
Yes. So
What do you
this
mean?
is
Like he looks for, is it a...
rating.
rates.
So actually, they can rate you, not you as a person, and if they are a bad person, no driver will pick him. It happened.
So if you throw up in a cab, if you...
Yeah, there's a
Well-
woman who blogged about this, and they rated her badly because maybe I don't remember what she was doing. But I think she was an annoying person. So yeah, that's interesting. So
And this is an aspect of what we call self-sustaining services. Airbnb is one of them. Airbnb, I rate the people who are hosting me, and the host rates me.
It's called what? Sustainable?
It's a self-sustaining service because it's a system. Yes, that it's a closed loop, right? And
prevents from being abused.
it prevents from being abused. It creates a community. It creates a coherent, independent structure, if you will.
Safety coming at the same time.
Exactly.
As an energy.
صح. So if the person has good ratings, I trust the community. If I have good ratings, he will host me. It's a self-sustaining system. Okay? So we're gonna go faster because we're running out of time. So I get into the car, I ride. This typically takes a little bit of time. So, you know, this is my ride. I'm riding. I arrive.
طب ممكن أضاف
The backstage running about
يلا رح أعملهم هول وقولوا لي.
It's extremely مختلف عن أي حاجة تانية.
شو؟
When you ride, ideally he offers you water
Yeah?
and holes.
Very good. شو؟ Holes?
هيدا بالأوبر اكسي.
Uber X, the lower, the Uber Black is the highest. Uber X is the lower one.
سيارة عادية.
سيارة عادية بتبقى تويوتا كورولا أو whatever. الثانية بتبقى يا إما most of them are Mazda وكرايسلر وهيك. بأمريكا it's a town car. So this is very important. And something else that we don't have it in Lebanon here yet is that they have made a partnership with Spotify.
Yeah.
So that when you go in, you have your Bluetooth and you do Spotify, it connects with the app and it has you listen to the music that you like, which is like.
Except we don't have Spotify in Lebanon. Okay, I want to point out, yes, question.
Sometimes people order taxis for a tour, so what are you waiting? It's the whole thing.
ما فهمت. Like you're sightseeing or something. Yeah, okay. We're taking a basic example, but yes, some people just want to go around, look at things.
Something else as well that is super important.
Yes.
Okay, and it is one of the 5 P's of marketing. حتى ما بدأ blueprinting. Okay, is that the pricing is very fair. not in terms of that it's expensive, maybe it's a little bit expensive, بس خلي انا خدت هنا من هيدي النقطه لهيدي النقطه حق مصاري.
ايه
ومن لهيدي النقطه حق مصاري، لكن ما في ما راح شارعك هيدا مثلا التاكسي العادي 10,000 لان انت خلاص رحت من هون لهون، لا هيدي 15,000 او 20,000
ايه.
There is a certain metric which is an issue in Lebanon. يعني in other places there is a metric في
ايه
بنضغط عليه.
ايه.
هنا ما فيش.
Okay. This is important and it's here. لحظة. And this is the point. So like, but before we get this, I want to point to two things. So the arrows that I'm drawing, okay? The arrow is one directional when it's a one-way interaction. It's two directional when it's an interaction. Okay? And the arrows always go vertically. So they go up and down. Okay? So I've arrived. Let's, before, is there anything here happening on the back end?
How much money?
هون you're being
It's still tracking where
track plus charge. It's a meter. It's running a meter, right? Yeah.
All the data are on the server. Yeah. Where the driver is
Yeah.
going and everything is tracked.
Okay. Very good. Okay. So this is happening, and this is also one directional. Like the car is sending the information. Okay. So I've arrived. What happens next?
You receive an email saying your bill. You do not pay.
Yeah, you don't pay. The credit card is just going to have your number and it automatically
It bills you automatically.
important بس انك تشوفي ان هو سوايب.
Okay. Okay. لحظة شوي. So what is my touch point here?
the credit card is good.
What do I see?
Arrival, your place, arrival.
My email. My email. The email is my touch point. لا هلا يعني I'm about to finish my service. It's like if I'm in a shop هلا عم بظهر من الباب, right? يوصل لي an email and this is my very last touch point, right? Okay? And I step out of the car and I move on with my life. What happens with the driver?
Basically he's free, so he looks for his next.
He's dispatched somewhere else, right?
Will back end again? They're re-notified. And this guy
Is free.
Not free. He's free was but that.
Eh. So I arrive.
And he rates us.
You rate us and you rate him.
He's dispatched. Okay, so we have one extra free car. Okay. Halla, we won't be able to put them or to fit them all in here, but let's discuss these points. Okay, so now what happens post?
Post. With who? With the service?
No, user. Always service. You are always user.
Okay. What happens with the post? Okay, you rate him, right? You say you rate him. You rate the app. You rate your experience.
Exactly. So there's the rating. Okay.
There's the emotions, I guess, that you have.
Okay. I'm gonna move these a little bit and fit some of these. Okay. Here. Yeah. And the Uber users help us out again. So this is my last touch point. So once it's done, okay, this is my post. So as an action, I rate him. And this is happening on my app. So I rate, and the touch point is the app again. So in this service, and this is important, I'll talk about it why, we have 3 major touch points: the app, the driver and his car, and the email. And then it repeats: app, driver, email, and car. Okay? So the app here again. So I'm rating him, he rates me apparently. Okay. He rates me. Okay. And then what other things do I keep from the service? You know, I keep a good experience, a bad experience, right?
The holes.
Sorry? The holes. I keep a holes. Yeah, right. The holes, the water. And typically all of these things are things you put here. An easy post takeaway or like a touch point that we keep. This is coffee shops, they do it. Some of them here, they have it. They give you a punch card. Have you ever had one?
Yeah.
They give you a punch card. Once you get 10 punches, so you've bought 10 coffees, the 11th is for free. This is a great post touch point because it ensures you're coming back. They're getting you as a good customer. Exactly. It plays on the loyalty, yes.
Doesn't the user also like compare with other competitors of the service?
ما فهمت, sorry.
The user doesn't compare the service to like the other.
Once he leaves.
Yeah.
Yes, very true. مظبوط. Once I leave, so I'm left with my impressions and I can assess and so not only rate it on the app, rate it amongst my friends, tell about it. If it's successful, I'll tell about it. I'll share with other people. And then the cycle starts over again. And someone else has heard from me this time that this is a great service. They download the app and we start over the cycle. I'm so sorry. I'm very clumsy today. Okay. Is it rather clear?
Very clear, yeah.
Okay. Let's then just kind of go over the important aspects of this tool. So as we mentioned, it's about time. But another important aspect of this tool is that it really highlights the touch points. Okay? And moving forward from this step, you should look at the objects or the teams that had objects. You should look at your objects as a touch point and not so much as an end result. Okay? They are part of a bigger service that functions, that is facilitated very well by this object.
And experience, we kind of giving the person the product experience.
Exactly, right? And it's like, and going back to the initial suggestion by Walid, why not go to the initial problem, which is it's very hard for me to find a cab, right? This object of yours should be answering one of these problems, or else whatever service you're providing is superfluous, it's useless. It's somewhere else, okay? And so the idea is for this to reshuffle your ideas and change the emphasis of this object. But that said, a touch point that's badly designed represents a bad service. You're done, right? So although it is only one aspect of your service versus three others, like look even in the visually, how less important it is in like visual height. It's like one line versus three others. It is the physical thing that your user touches. It is how they will rate you. It is what they will remember from you. It is where they interact with you. Okay? If we take other examples of like interesting touch points, for instance, even if a restaurant has great food, if the restaurant is not nice and it's not comfortable, it's a bad touch point. I'm not coming back. I'm not coming back. Right. If the service is bad, if like the front stage here is bad, if the waitress is very rude, and if so. This also emphasizes the importance of all of this, and it also puts always the user in the middle, which is also another thing that service design does that few other disciplines do. Typically, we think, who's going to use this? Like usually, for instance, because we have a lot of graphic designers, when you design a logo, you're designing it for a company. But the people using that logo are not the company. They're the person who's taking your business cards, who's looking at your website. And so this is why services can complement typically also other. So it's an interesting tool for you to just think through your own field and see how you can flush out your own expertise or whatever you do. Okay, let's go around a little bit and take a few more questions, any more examples, anything you can think of.
So sorry, can we talk about something that we're doing now?
Mm-hmm.
We're doing the app. So for the app, it's a bit similar to this, but the difference is you're not interacting as much with the app as much as it's in the back end. So most of the things are happening in the back end, right? So like I just fill in like, let's say, these settings, and then I close my app. And according to that, it tailors to whatever I want. So I'll be focusing still on the same, on the main points.
As a service designer, you focus first on your user.
Okay.
Like and in this specific case,
your app should be user-friendly, مش complicated to get to أي شغلة بدي أشيلها وأي شغلة.
So it has to be easy.
and actually on this point, I'm going to point out something, and this is again Walid who pointed this out. Okay, so another thing where you can use a service, when you flush out a service that's already existing, you can locate pain points. Okay, for instance, Walid located one, which is when I have to geolocate myself, and this is like a painful thing for him to do. And when we do this, we can mark it. And this is definitely something you want to change in your service, or you want to attend to. Like, and in that sense, sorry, مثلا if like it takes a lot of time for him usually to come, this is another pain point, and I mark this out. If in the back end the algorithm or the app crashes or something, I mark this out, okay? And these are points that I want to tackle in my service. And we can also use this to redesign a service. So for instance, a good example, okay, this is taking a lot of time. Actually, I'll give you an example that you're easily going to recognize. So like when they flushed out initially the blueprint of a bank, and they realized that there is a lot of rush on the teller, okay? One of the things that they did is they removed some of the front stage into the back stage.
Okay, so they merged them together.
And then some of these aspects they put as a touch point, and they created an ATM. So sometimes shuffling things from one row to the other changes your service and makes it faster, more efficient. And this is how, again, you measure over time. Like instead of having people wait for their turn to go to the teller, okay, let's just remove this teller, put a machine, give it more time. I can come here 24 hours a day, and then, okay, I free up the teller. Then I can make other services go faster. So the idea of shifting things around. Another one which they do, so now, especially with the apps and mobiles and things like that, the app is replacing a lot some of the front end.
Can I give you an example?
Yeah.
Now with the movement to smart cities, there's something called smart ما بعرف اسمه هيدا العداد اللي بياخد electricity. In the future, you will not be getting the electricity with the same price all at the same طول الوقت. You're going to be able to have to charge your عداد زي السمارتفون. So you will be able to price الكهرباء بسعر الصبح وبسعر بالليل. Because at the end of the day, the idea of الكهرباء is you have أحمال generators. You want me to keep them at an average rate all the time. So you will have people use the washing machines or whatsoever at night more. So you want to make it cheaper to use at night. يعني مش حد بيستخدم كهرباء بالليل.
صح.
والصبح بتاعه. So this is another way where you redirect your service in order to
make it more efficient. صح. So when, for instance, I mean, this is a basic service blueprint. When I do a service blueprint, I add a few more rows. And on front stage here, I add a whole row for everything that's electronic and I start shifting things around. I can see what I can let go to have a computer do it for me. And like in the user action also, sometimes I add 2 rows to specify what I do, what I see. So and in the backstage, there's actually a lot more. And like if you take the example of restaurants, for instance, there's the backstage, which is the kitchen, but there's another backstage, which is like the provider of the fruits, for instance. Or
can you share the others?
The more complex?
No,
you're going to have it. Halla. Yes. Okay, and it's actually also available online. It's one of those very good. This specific tool I simplified, and this is the one I explain typically. But the complex and several versions of it exist online, which you can also download in PDF format. And some even websites, I'll find one for you. You can fill it in even digitally, and it helps you out. It's like if you know the business model generation. I mean, it's one of those tools that's
business model generation?
No, it's not the same group, but it's as popular, if you will, as the other one. Yes. Okay. I think this is a wrap of our session.
Awesome.
I hope